How's it guys, Munash here, and today we have a perfect solo against the Captain America Infinity War boss from Act 6 Chapter 3, and this one's going to be using Stock Enhanced Spider-Man, who is my favorite counter for this fight. In fact, I think he was my only good counter when I was exploring Act 6 Chapter 3 almost a year ago now. But yeah, I just felt like revisiting all the tougher bosses in Act 6 Chapter 3 as well, because it's been a while since I've done these fights, and a lot of them have been nerfed quite substantially. And this one is a bit of an interesting one because he has been nerfed, but he also kind of has been buffed at the same time, just depending how you look at it. Oh yeah, and I took the easy path, the one with Aggression, Fury, Counter-Strike, and Unblockable Special Attacks. It's a pretty straightforward path, you don't really need any specific counters for it. Starts with Colossus and ends with this Aegon, which is a pretty easy fight with Doom. You don't even need to get the perfect lineup of power if you have Mystic Dispersion, because he's going to be getting a Fury buff whenever he gets hit. Alright, so moving on to the Beardo boss. The first thing I noticed was that they reduced his attack, like all the other bosses, so it is only about 15,000 now, and it used to be about 22,700. But that's not all they changed. They also removed a node and actually replaced it with a new one, which I thought was quite interesting because the last two bosses, they just removed the node, which made the fight significantly easier depending on who you use. But for Cap, they just replaced Unlimited Power with Aggression Fury, which can be seen as a nerf as well, sort of, kind of, to a certain extent, maybe, but overall it's actually really a buff because now that the Furies are passive, you can't use Ronin anymore to cheese this fight. He was probably the most popular option as many people had him duped, and they made the fight so easy. I mean, you could probably do it blindfolded if you wanted to. Not anymore. I'm gonna go in with Stock Enhanced Spider-Man, and I'm just gonna be building poise charges at the start because he also does have destructive feedback, so I actually can't do any damage to him until it turns grey and goes into cooldown. And when I do get cornered, I can just do some corner intercepts, which is probably the easiest way to intercept with the light attack. So then I end up doing a light, medium combo. So yeah, just go in the corner, hold block, and then dex, but I dex slightly early instead of being slightly late, and then I can punish with the light attack very comfortably. And okay, I got a good amount of poise charges, and anything above 7 is pretty good. I just have to maintain them, which is almost effortless because they just build up by you naturally dexing throughout the fight. And I'm not going to parry at all in this fight, I'm just going to be intercepting and punishing, which means I'm going to be dexing a lot as well. Okay, and then he does a special one, which is quite easy to evade even in the corner. And now the main thing about this fight is I just want to maintain that taunt debuff. That's actually what's going to help me to actually solo this fight. And I want to bait a special attack as soon as he has it. So if he has special 1, I'm going to bait that one. If I can't do that and the taunt expires, then I push him to 2 bars of power, then bait the special 2. Then I go back to special 1 after that. And yeah, just that taunt is what's really making this fight very manageable with Stock Enhanced Spider-Man, and that's a very underrated ability or piece of utility that he has in my opinion. Just that element of power control with the taunt, the power drain on the heavier attack, and just the way he deals damage without doing too many hits, Because you basically build him up first, just by dexing to get the poise charges, and his sig ability also gives him a very good crit rate with those poise charges, and that's why he works really well for this fight. He can pretty much counter everything. Most of his damage comes from dealing big yellow numbers, which is good for the crit me with your best shot node, and the taunt debuff counters Surging Vengeance, because with almost any other champ who doesn't have power control, first throw a special 1, then a special 2, and then finally a special 3, and then go back to special 1. So you kind of have to bait the specials in that order, and if you don't bait the special 1 first, he's gonna throw a special 3 next. You just want to play around destructive feedback because when it's not grey, he will actually absorb all the damage he would take from you, and when he does hit you, even if you just block, he will transfer all that damage back to you when the icon is active or isn't grey. So the only time I hit him when it's active is just to give myself some space by hitting his block. Otherwise, I just avoid him when it's active since I won't be doing any damage anyway. And yeah, ideally I want to bait the special 1 as soon as I can, and this is more of a safety precaution because he can glance, which will cause your attacks to not apply their abilities, and that's kind of why most power control champs aren't really reliable or effective against him. But yeah, with Stock Spidey, it's very easy to apply the taunt, it's every 5 hits when it's not active, and yeah, maintaining it is very easy as well. You just have to, be idle a bit and basically just taunt him. Yeah, just talk some smack, basically. So yeah, and I must say, Stock Enhanced Spider-Man is probably still my favorite Spidey champ in the game. For the time it was Stealth Suit Spider-Man, but you know, lately, over the past couple of months, I tend to use Stock Enhanced Spider-Man more, just for the power control utility. Stealth was more useful to me earlier this year for stuff like adAHS and the old Alliance War map, especially because I used to do part 4. But I mean, when it comes to clearing in-game content, I always end up using Stock Enhanced more than Stealth Suit. Oh, and there, Fury's evade synergy did save me, although I would have played it a bit more carefully if I didn't have it. Just for that power control utility, I just find it a lot more valuable. Usually, just for any scenario where you kind of need to have some form of power control. I mean, nodes like All or Nothing, Improved Power Gain, Aspect of Evolution, Vivified, Surging Vengeance. There's a lot of that type of stuff in Act 6 Chapter 4, and I use them so much more than Stealth Suit there, because his form of power control is actually quite unique. I sort of see him as a reverse Doom, in the sense that with Doom you're power stealing and basically just preventing the opponent from throwing special attacks. Whereas with Stock Spider, you are still letting them throw the special attack, but it's more like it's under your terms. So you have a little bit more control over when they throw the special attack. And if you play it right in certain scenarios, you can sort of dictate which special attack they use, because you also have a pretty good guaranteed stun with the special one. So I've only ever done this fight with Stock Enhanced Spider-Man and Aegon. Other good counters would be Ghost with Hood synergy, and then you can also use some other champs who can tank special attacks such as Gwenpool or Iceman, although it would take time with some of them. And you could also try with Corvus, especially if you can get the Avenger mission. Otherwise, you might need a boost if you want to solo, and maybe also have the Heimdall synergy. Maybe. Oh, and another thing I love about Stock Enhanced Spider-Man is his animations. They just feel so good for intercepting, so quick and slick. And just that first medium feels like you're really hitting the opponent hard. And sometimes I'll even intercept when they do have a bar of power, just because I feel safe doing it, you know, with how quick his animations are and having the chance to auto-evade special attacks. But anyway, now we get into the end of this fight. It's going really well. Just have to drop a few more combos while the shield is down. Drop a special 2, and that takes him down to 1%. Probably would have ended him if I gotten those last 2 hits, but yeah, I just gotta wait it out and then finish him off. So yeah, that's a perfect solo against Captain America Infinity War, and by perfect I just mean that I didn't take any damage at all in this fight. I finished with full health, but I mean, you don't need to do it perfectly to solo this fight. You can still parry, just make sure you don't do it when he has too many of those passive furies. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.